Hey, welcome back to my channel, Lados and Lilies. Soon I will be changing my name to have the word homeschool in it. If you have any ideas like homeschooling boys, I know there's some channels already on YouTube, so I kind of don't want to use the same thing. If you hear rain in the background, guys, it's raining outside, so hopefully it's not loud. But yeah, welcome if it's your first time here. My name is Frances, and I'm a homeschool mom of all boys. I have 4 boys from ages 24 to down to 10. So we are ending our 4th year of homeschooling, and even though this year has been a little bit of a whirlwind, we are still trucking along. And when I share things about what we're going to do in the summertime, I will let you guys know how this year was, and trying to figure out how to really come with that video, as far as not saying that the year was a failure, but there were just some things that hit rough this year, and yeah, I will talk about those soon. But today we're going to talk about things I use to go along with our math curriculum. If you don't already know, we use CTC Math. All right. So I'm just going to pull out some math resources that have really worked for me in my homeschool, or helped me as a homeschool mom having to teach math. Okay. Let me grab this box container. I just store everything in one of these containers, and keeps me organized. I am trying to next year have a bigger bookshelf, so I can kind of like leave things out that I know I use on a consistent basis, because I have learned as a homeschool mom, going on and on, like when you put stuff away, you might have the tendency not to pull it back out. So this year I'm definitely trying to make things more visible for me. So even when I'm planning lessons, I'm like, oh, I can pull out this and use it. So that is something I'm really trying to do this year to help me. The first thing I would say is everything you need to know to ace pre-algebra and algebra 1. But not just specifically this, but these books in particular. If you ever feel like you are a mom who's like, oh, I need to have some quick refresher or on how to do that before you help your child, these books have been great additions for me. Sometimes I even open it and use it for lessons that they might be doing on another system or another curriculum. Sometimes they just need a different way of learning how to do that actual thing when it comes to like math, science. I have used the history, but history I more so used as a guide and not necessarily as like an extra, more so like a guide for me to say, oh, let's do this topic next and this one and this one. So I like these. Everything today, I will link it in the description down below. So if you want to use them, you can. First things first, we're just going to talk about, like all people have, I think the biggest thing in my kids having mastery was using things like flashcards. And I also use these flashcards at the end of the year and say, hey, I'm just going to pop this flashcard up and see where you're at, see what you need to work on. And this really helped me when we were doing multiplication, which I have these multiplication flashcards. They kind of have like blocks on them and the actual thing. Some of them have missing things, so your child has to fill it in. And this is multiplication and division, so it's all in one stack. These are really good. And when I review, I kind of just be like, if you take longer than like 5 seconds to answer me, I'm like, okay, we're gonna work on these. And usually when it comes to multiplication, for most kids, it's like 6, 7, and 8 are usually the ones that hold you up for mastery, because those ones can be kind of confusing. I remember being like, when we first started homeschooling, the 8 times 7, 7 times 6, those were like, I'm like, why can't my brain just say I know what the answer is. And those usually hold up kids too, which I don't, it's weird, but that is what happens. All right, so those are flashcards. Now on to a math game that we use. We play this so much this year. It's called Triple Play. And basically these cards, this is for intermediate math. These cards basically cover like math vocabulary, or what is that particular thing. Like this is a vertex. So then the other card that you match with would have the word vertex on it. So these we have loved. It also comes with game cards where you can play goldfish, or you know, things like that. It gives you ideas to play. So this is perimeter. These have been so good as far as like remembering things in our homeschool. So trying to think, show you more than one card, this one, but they have, there's a lot of things in here, so they cover a lot. They also cover mean, median, mode, range, which, yeah, so these we have played a lot this year and enjoy it. It's always competitive, of course, with my voice. So that is called Triple Play again. Next thing up is Add-Su-Monday. I have talked about this before in my in a recent video that I had done. A monstrous fun game of creative mental math. So this is help you to think more mentally. You can use all types of math when doing this, if that's how you want to say it. So these are what the cards look like. There's a bunch of cards, and then you just pick one card. If you start with this card, and you have a number in the middle. So when we do this, the number is 2. So I can come up with a problem that says 12 minus 10 is 2. And that's basically how you play. But you can make it harder and harder if your child is older, saying like, oh, you can only use multiplication, division, you know, addition, subtraction. You can do square roots, or even if you want a cube, you know, you can make it as hard or not hard as you want to. So this is something that I liked about that. There are about, I want to say 50. I want to say they're about, no, maybe they're not 50 cards, but there's a bunch of cards, about that much cards that come with it. And basically the first person to do 5, to successfully do a math problem and collect 5 cards, you win. So I do like stuff that I usually pick. I like it to be quick games that we can play over and over in a certain amount of time. I don't like a game to take up 30 or 45 minutes out of our day, because then, hey, you got the whole rest of the school day to do. And then it makes it hard for the game to incorporate the game. Like this one. We tried this game for the first time this year. This is Math Rush 2. So I don't really like games where you have to keep score, because I feel like that takes time away too from keeping score. But basically, you have cards like this that have all the problems on them. So you have multiplication and you have exponents that are on the cards. And then they give you goal cards, which are cards where you have to match this card to your goal card. Let me see if I can find one. Yes. So this is the goal card, and it says 3, and it says divisible by 5. So when you are picking out a card from your regular deck, it has to be divisible by 5. So 7 times 5, hey, that worked. It's divisible by 5. And this number tells you, as you're working together as a group, how many cards you need to have to meet this goal. So once you have 3 cards next to this, you met the goal, and there's a certain amount of cards. So you do 3 goals per round, you stop, and then you do a score. Now, we didn't really like the whole keeping a score, so we have done it. The kids were not really a fan of this, to be honest. They were just like, oh, we just want to do the things. We don't really want to keep score. So we did not play this a lot, because they didn't really, they weren't a fan of it. So showing you, but telling you the truth. All right. So that was, again, a Math Rush 2. They also have one which is more like addition, I believe, and subtraction. if you wanted to do something like that. All right. The next one is called Fracto. So these ones I really like, and I am still using them and will continue to use them next year, because basically you have cards that have fractions, pictures, and they have like fractions on them. So basically when you all get your cards and you lay the card out in front, you have to, this is also the other style, you have to make a whole. So this is teaching your child how to actually get a whole from fractions. And yeah, so this game we did like, because of course there's no scorekeeping. Yes, of course there's a way to win, but there's no like extra where it takes a long time for you to record who's winning, who did this. So there's just an ending. There's 3 games in one. We have only played the first one, where it's like find a hole. This improves your accuracy, speed, and memory. You get 80 fraction cards. So it says there's academic skills, identifying fractions, operation with fractions, mental math, life skills, visual reasoning, communication and strategy, moral values, patience, honesty, respect for opponents. The winner will be the king of the jungle. So yeah, this was a plus for us. So next up is another mental math one that I like, which is more for like, I feel like the smaller math things. It's called Poof. Now y'all, I got this on sale during a Black Friday, I think. And the regular price of this is like 30 bucks or 25, something like that. And when I got the box, I was like, in my brain, I was like, if I would have paid all that money for this little box of this game, I would have been upset. Okay, so you have your instructions, and then you have your card. Now with this game, you're laying out a group of cards, and basically you have a dealer. This is like a language arts, a spelling game we have. So you're dealing out the cards, keeping track of how many cards are down based on how many, if you follow the instructions, you put down 6 cards. So, let me open this up, because I think it shows 6 or, yeah, like this. And then, so 9 cards. There is a lot of ways you can go about getting it, and it has a page for that. It shows you how to do that, which using addition, subtraction, multiplication, all of that stuff that you could do, versus it being just simple. Like, you can make it as hard as you want. You can use parentheses, square roots, negative, multiple signs, exponents, and it shows you like what you can do right and what's wrong. So as you use these normal, they're all numbered. There's just a bunch of numbers all in the card. You just, yeah, whoever has the most matches, that type of thing. And it says players should be careful not to shoot a number unless they're ready with a proof. So after you do it, you have to say the equation right. So, and if they don't say it right, they have to pause for 10 seconds. So as the dealer is dealing the cards and people are shooting out answers, you pause, they have to say the equation. If they're not right, then it's like they can't shout during the next 10 seconds, but everybody else can, which makes it like easier for somebody else to, they can take your equation and basically make it right if you made a mistake. So this is really, this was fun. This is fun. So this was a good, happy addition. It looks like that. There are a bunch of cards. So it's a nice, but again, this is a game that doesn't take forever and it helps with your mental math. So this was, we like this. So that's it for the games. The last things I want to show you though is things that have helped make the days, like when you don't feel like it, when you don't want to, have been brain quest cards. And I had these for 3rd grade, 6th grade, and 7th grade. These are good for review because a lot of the stuff is very on point when it comes to like the English, the math, the science. And let me show you. It comes like this. So there are different categories, and then the answers are on the next card. So as you're sitting there asking the question, your answer is right next to it. These, I love these. These are good for, which is why I still keep them, because when I'm like, oh, let's just have a review day, or let's sit and ask questions and hang out when mommy might be having a hard day, it's still schooling. So guess what? That's what happens. All right. So that's Brain Quest. Last thing, two things that I have used, and this more so goes towards fractions, is these buildable fraction things. We will be using these a lot more next year for my 6th grader, and like coming to master and memorize certain things that go together. So one side is percent. I want to holding it upside down, y'all. One side is percent, the other side is decimal, and the other side is a whole. All right, so that is how they work, which is how you use them all together, and they work together with your fractions. The other thing I use, which is not something that you would normally buy if you were not using Math-U-See, I have used Math-U-See. My kids kind of liked it, and then my older ones were like, no, we don't really like this. And then I made a decision to change, because I know it's mostly mastery, and I like more taking like a spiral approach, because I feel like you should be able to keep all the things fresh in your mind until I feel like, okay, let's stop and then move on to something else being spiral. So for instance, it's like, my child's going into 6th grade. I want him to be, at this point, his multiplication should be mastered. He should not do a big multiplication problem, like a 4x4 multiplication problem, and be still struggling and like, what is that? So for me, even going into next year, feeling secure that he's mastered multiplication, I want to move more into mastering fractions. And I don't want it to really look like a double math, but in essence, it is double math. So I kept these because I had these from my older one. And these are Math-U-See fraction inlays, which are so cool because you get these plastic things. And then, so basically they give you a solid so you can see it, right? And then if you have to, you will put another overlay on top so you can see your fraction broken down further and further and further. And then they have ones with smaller lines if you needed to break it down, that thing, into smaller lines, which is awesome. So this is something that I did purchase when I was using Math-U-See, that I figured, oh, I'm going to keep this because, yes, we will definitely be using it for our fractions. So, yeah. These are all the math things that I use presently at this time, that really are used, I should say, in my homeschool. Not something that I bought and they're just sitting there. So yeah, that's it. Everything will be linked below. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.